the packed room this morning is evidence that it takes a village to raise a child. It's most certainly a team sport, as we've been hearing this morning, with parents, teachers, and the community in starring roles. The question is, how does pre-K for SA create a first-class learning environment, and how can parents help make sure their kids love to learn? To help us answer these questions, please welcome Rebecca Cervantez. She is Executive Director of AVANCE San Antonio, a nonprofit that helps low-income families with little kids increase their engagement. Next, Jesse Quesada is the parent of a child who is a pre-K 4SA student, and Ileana Garza has spent more than 22 years in the classroom and is a teacher with pre-K 4SA. The Atlantic's Ron Brownstein and Emily DeRuy are both here for this last conversation. Take it away.
So Jesse, we have heard about federal policy, we have heard about state policy, we have heard about educational theory, pedagogical strategies, but of everyone we're talking to, you have seen the program perhaps most up close of all. Your daughter, Gabriela, went through the program and is now in first grade. Talk a little bit about her experience and what your assessment is of the impact it has had on her now that she's beyond it.
Right. Well, we believe that, my wife and I believe that her experience she's benefited from pre-K from SA a great deal. The foundation that was set there at pre-K for SA, we've seen the results. We've seen her interaction with kids from when she started with pre-K to SA to now. She's in first grade. And, you know, her grades right now, we are proud to say that she is making straight A's.
Oh, that's great. Let me ask you, when the program was formed, when it came to be, what was the conversation like with your wife about whether it would be appropriate for your daughter? What ultimately led you to decide to seek a spot there?
Right. Well, like any other parent, when your child's about to start a school at the beginning, you want to research and find out information. And we looked around, we compared different schools and all. And of course, one of the biggest challenges was, the finances. And we realized that pre-K for SA was better suited for us.
Mm-hmm. And before Emily jumps in, one more question. What was the program like? I mean, what did she spend her days doing?
Well, there was a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of interaction. They were introduced to an iPad where she was able to learn about computers, basic reading, math skills. And she would come home and she was always very excited, to go into school, even if she was a little ill. She didn't want to miss, but I really believe working on that iPad there at pre-K for SA, she came home and now she wanted to take over the computer at home.
I think that's genetic with young kids. Emily.
So we actually have some photos from pre-K for SA, so if we could go ahead and run those. And Ileana, if you could give us a sense of what a typical day is like for these kids.
Well, the day for the children starts early. They come in and they're greeted. We always, we are very routine oriented, and so we have the children come and explore and share with excitement what they did, and we, they have a small group, they have a large group, and right here, what you may be seeing in some of these pictures are where the children are exploring some technology. They go outside. We have outdoor learning, where they go and they don't only run around, but we're playing games. The adults are interacting with them and helping them to grow physically. So we're very conscious-minded of the children, and everything that we do is very intentional for them. We look at each child individually, and we look at their social being. We look at the academic part. We also look at the non-academic part. We look at health-wise as well.
Was that a field trip?
We have a gardener.
You have a gardener.
We have a gardener, so Rico comes out and they garden with us. We just, at my center yesterday, the gardener was there and we were talking about gardening and how do we grow, vegetables, how do we grow plants and those types of things.
Go ahead.
Describe some of the families that you serve. What are these kids' backgrounds?
Well, our population is very diverse. Each center is very unique. and its diversity. We service the area, the basic area that's around us. So we have children that are military families. We have children that are tuition-based. We have children that qualify through the federal ways of qualifying. So it's a big range.
Am I correct that you were a preschool teacher before this?
Yes.
So where were you teaching before?
I was with Northside ISD.
Is this program different for you as a teacher than what you had been doing, and what are some of the differences?
Oh, yes, it's extremely different. Where I was at, in my district, we have a half-day pre-K. And so I was split between two schools. And so the day was very short for the children, and it was, you hit the ground running, and you did what you could do for children. And I always, when they left for the day, I always felt if I had a little more time to spend with them. If, I wish I had more time to build stronger bonds and connections and to allow them to explore more and to discover more. I mean, we did very well, but it wasn't enough time. And with Pre-K for SA, you have a full day to build with these children, to make sure that when they leave you, they're very well-rounded and very ready for their next adventure.
So it feels the time is a big difference.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes.
Let me just bring in Rebecca and then turn it back to you, Emily. But so one of the things that in reading about the program, I mean, one of the things that's interesting about it is that there's a big focus on engaging parents as well. You work in the community. What is your sense of the verdict on that kind of outreach to parents and the efforts to bring parents, both provide services to the parents, but also to engage them with the schools? How is that being received?
Well, I think for San Antonio, I think our community has always embraced parental engagement. I think those of us that have been in this arena providing support to families have understood that it has to start with parents, and that parents have to be their child's first teacher. And through, I know AVANCE, that's what we have been doing for the past 43 years here in San Antonio, understanding that education starts with a parent and the home as the first classroom. But again, the other component to parental engagement is providing that support to parents to assume that important role, because I think sometimes we expect parents to become engaged with their children in the educational system, whatever they're doing, and we forget that they may not have the ability or the transportation or the comfort level to do that. So again, it's about providing that support to our parents to ensure that our expectations for parental engagement and school readiness are truly realistic.
Right, and much of the focus has been on enrolling low-income children. Do you see preschool as a way of kind of breaking that cycle of poverty?
Very much so. AVANCE is a proven fact, and there's so many efforts here in San Antonio that are focusing our early Head Start programs, already our Head Start programs across the city that are doing a phenomenal job. I think that all the research shows that children who are involved from birth in a setting where they are learning, where socially, emotionally they are able to get to the level of support that they need to be able to learn, are going to be better prepared academically and socially and emotionally. They're able to walk into that kindergarten classroom ready to succeed, ready to be able to be in a formal structure, to be socially at the level that they need to be. So I think San Antonio, we're very lucky that understanding and commitment has been there. I'm going to tell you, it didn't happen overnight. I think that there's always been efforts by the city of San Antonio through their kinder readiness, their family strengthening. United Way has been a big supporter of early childhood education, our business community, the banks. So I think it's been a community-wide effort. I think Pre-K for SA really raised the level of conversation and the need for making sure that all families in our community are given that opportunity.
Jesse, as a parent, I mean, there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of focus on engagement with parents. What was your interaction with the center like? When would you find yourself there for what kind of things? How often?
We were very, very surprised that you could actually, walk into the school every morning when we dropped off our daughter. Either there was one teacher or two teachers there. Sometimes when you send even now my daughter's in first grade, to get a parent-teacher conference, it's a challenge. So it's almost like we had a mini parent conference every day. Because they were there, you had a question about something, and we could get anything answered as soon as we could.
Did
That was good.
Did I read there were mandatory field trips? The parents had to participate in field trips, or is that more on paper than in practice?
Oh, it was. They're volunteer, and actually, our daughter's teacher, she actually made it a point to go out of her way on her own time to make her own field trips with parents. She took us to botanical gardens, for example, and that's a good learning experience. And she's teaching, so we found that to be, very good. And we took every opportunity that we could for her to learn more.
One last question on this theme. I saw in the report, the evaluation for year 2 that was done. There was one statistic that was submitted to the city council last fall. There was one statistic that jumped out at me. It said 93% of the parents had participated in at least one activity at the school, at the centers.
At the centers.
Talk about it as a teacher, the level of engagement of parents and how it's compared to other situations you've been in before.
What we try to do is provide opportunities for the parents to come in to the center on a monthly basis, basically. As a teacher, you invite the families to join you on city explorations, and that's what Jesse was talking about. So, and we try to do 2 of those for the school year. But there are numerous opportunities for the parents to come in, not only parent-teacher conferences, which happen twice a year, maybe 3, but we do where we have literacy nights, we have math nights, but we also do things during the day. We have guest readers.
The literacy and math nights, are those aimed at the parents or at the student or the kids?
For both.
For both. Yeah.
So that they both
I'm sorry.
enjoy.
Continue.
Yes.
Yeah. You said math literacy nights.
And then we do some fun stuff. We have them come out, and we had like a little mini fiesta one day, last year. And so we do a little bit of everything so that it's not just academic, but, getting the parents to come in and to partner up with us. We're here, we're a team, and together we can make things happen. I can't do it on my own, you can't do it on your own, but together we can.
What are some of the biggest challenges, both in the classroom and maybe the community, in terms of providing quality pre-K?
I think for other providers, that we have in this community is the supply and demand theory. That the demand for the services are here, but the supply of credentialed teachers, is a big issue. I think competitive wages. I think that there is a commitment for the need for starting early, but again, that commitment has to be at the level community-wide that we have for pre-K 4SA, is that, we need to embrace that if we want excellent teachers like Ileana in the classroom, and we want them to have their credentials and to prepare our children, is that they need to be making a livable wage, and that those wages need to be competitive to ensure quality across the board.
Are there enough qualified teachers?
I think that there is a real need I think that the supply of available teachers is an issue. I can tell you for AVANCE, and Libby Doggett spoke about this, is having a teacher in a classroom with infants and toddlers is very different from having a teacher in a classroom with 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. So again, the need for infant and toddler credentialed teachers in the city is a big issue. And again, I think as a community, we need to embrace that it has to start also early as infants and toddlers.
Certainly from everything we've read, professional development is a big focus of the program. I read that the second year evaluation said that on average, the master teachers attended 21 professional development events. What are they? What are they working with you on?
We work on our program standards, better understanding them. We work on developmentally appropriate practices. We work on technology. We had a good session on that. But we're offered the professional development courses that the professional development department offers as well, and we go to those on Saturdays as well. But yeah, we're trained a great deal on project approach, things that interests us, things that will make us more qualified and better able to service our children.
And that is open not only to the teachers at the center, but other teachers from the area as well, as I understand it?
Yes, and I did want to say that I think one of the assets from PreK4SA for our teachers is their professional development and making quality learning also in their PD more accessible. So we all benefit from that professional development.
So in the last panel, we heard from some of the lawmakers who have been discussing pre-K, but as people who are sort of on the ground day to day, what would you like them to know?
I think I'd like our audience, and I know that many of you are in the same field that we are, is that it hasn't happened overnight. That I think it has been the understanding for the need to start early has been in this community. I think PreK4SA, like I mentioned, elevated the conversation and the connection with starting early and starting to prepare our future workforce and ensuring that our children succeed in school and go to college. So I think that as a community, you know, now because of the business community, the support of like General Robles at USAA, you know, Charles Butt, Bartel Zachary, you know, people that have been in this community supporting education now have really been at the forefront saying we need to do this in order to have a better workforce and a better future in the city and a better quality of life. So for us, we embrace that because that's what you know, what we all want is to ensure that our children succeed and our parents succeed. You know, supporting their children in their efforts to, you know, to go to school, to go to college, and to be a better prepared workforce.
Jesse, what would you want Emily's question, legislators to know?
They could find a way to continue to, you know, look into efforts to make it a statewide, you know, maybe if this program could start statewide and it could grow nationwide, it's a very good program. I could tell you this, that if there's a parent that were to come ask me about PreK4SA, or they're gonna, you know, they're thinking about putting their child in pre-K, I would always tell them, look to PreK4SA first.
Ileana, how about you?
I would really like to see all half-day programs become full-day programs. And that these programs also be truly developmentally appropriate for them to be play-based learning, which we know is the way that children learn best, and not have so much push-down curriculum to our little ones.
Can I ask a kind of a follow-up, start with you and maybe work back the other direction? One of the questions about a 4-year-old pre-K is whether 1 year is enough to make a difference, and whether you really need a 2-year program, getting kids as early as 3. What would you think about it? Is that too young, or would that be in the same way that you think going from half day to full day would be beneficial? Would starting a year earlier also be beneficial?
Well, I've never worked with 3-year-olds, but I'm sure that they could benefit from it. I mean, we see our children make great gains over a year, you know, a year's time, even in the half-day program. But in a full-day program, the gains that they've made are almost doubled. And so as long as it was quality-based, then I'm certain that 3-year-olds would benefit.
Jesse, would 3 have seemed too early to you for Gabriella, or would you have liked that opportunity if it was there?
We would have loved that opportunity because the benefits that we've seen are great. So if there was a pre-K for 3, we would have enrolled her in it.
What do you think?
Well, since we're involved in support services and education starting at birth, I feel that if we're able to provide that opportunity to every child to start at birth, I think is a wonderful thing for this community to be able to do. I can tell you that continuum of education and support is very important. So yeah, if a child starts at birth and then has a gap, I think prior to kindergarten, those gains are going to be diminished. So again, if we're able as a community to ensure that our children at birth are going to provide that continuum of education and support going into kindergarten so that there's no loss of gains, we're going to be a better community.
Just to be clear, what is the point at which you think it's appropriate for children to enter something that's outside the home predominantly?
I think as early as 6 weeks.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
yes.
Should we take some
Yeah,
questions
we'll
from the audience?
take a few questions from the audience. Right over here.
Sure. Erica Prosper with HEB. You guys, thank you very much, first of all, for your stories. It's been a pleasure to hear. You've made references to gains, to benefits you've seen as a parent, as a teacher, and as a community. I would love for you guys to share 3 to 4 very specific examples of those benefits and those gains, you from a teacher's perspective and you from a parent perspective, that you've really seen has evolved as your child's been part of the program, if you don't mind.
Maybe Jesse, you want to start?
Absolutely. We've seen her social skills, we saw her social skills improve. She started doing some math and, most important, reading. And now she loves to read. And I believe that's where it started. My wife started reading with her when she was, a toddler, but we saw her reading skills really improve at pre-K for SA, which I believe sets a very good foundation for any child to start their education.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen great gains in children's social emotional growth. We've seen where they are able to advocate for themselves. We've seen a lot of growth in their way of reasoning and problem solving and communicating with each other and with adults as well. And just, you walk into a classroom and the children greet you and they immediately want you to come and work with them because they see the day as a day of work, because that's what they're doing.
I think as a provider, our partnership with the Harlandale Independent School District is a great example where we start at birth and ensure that we provide that continuum of support for our children. And because of the relationship with Harlandale, then we're able to show that 94% of our children are actually on the A and B honor roll throughout high school. We're also able to show that 95% of our children are passing math and science. So I think that the figures and the testimonials of someone like Jesse is proven up, and those of us that have been in this arena know that it doesn't only impact our children, it also impacts our parents, because when they value education, they also understand the need for them to get their education. So again, it's a win-win situation, because future generations, the expectation will be that they will go to college or they will get into a training program to get out of poverty and be able to provide a better future for their children.
Yeah, it is interesting. A couple of years ago, we were doing an Ex America event with a woman who was the Deputy Commissioner of Education for Maryland, and we were talking about the statistics that today, if your parents were graduating from college, you are 5 times more likely to graduate yourself than if your parents were not. And I asked her if that was daunting. And she gave, I thought, the single most inspiring answer I've ever heard in an event. She said, it's the opposite. She said, I know that every kid that I get into college, I am affecting not only that child, but generations upon generations. It probably, kids 50, 60 years from now will go to college because of that success in getting the one person across the hurdle today. And I thought that was a very powerful way of looking at what you're describing. Yeah.
And I think I'd like to add, 1/3 of our workforce at AVANCE are actually AVANCE parents and children that actually came through our program that now have their college education and are role modeling the value of education to both parents and children.
Yeah. We had another hand up here. I thought, a whole bunch of hands up here. How about up there, and then the gentleman in the second row after.
I'm Sarah Garland. I'm the executive editor of the Hechinger Report. And I had a question for Ileana. You've talked a little bit about the academics and math and literacy. At the same time, you mentioned play-based, developmentally appropriate curriculum. So I'm wondering if you could talk about and describe for the audience the math lesson you taught yesterday and how you deal with the push down of standards and getting kids ready for academics, but also recognizing that they're 4. And how do you teach them math? What does that look like?
So when we plan a lesson, we're very intuitive as to what the children are doing in the classroom. So our lessons are planned around interest-based. So, and also when we're planning, we look at children, we look at every child in the group. And so we'll plan for children that are on the emergent level. What are they doing? What does that sound like? We plan for children that are on target. What are they doing? What does that sound like? And for the children that are advanced, what are they doing? What does that sound like? How are we going to take them up to the next level? So when we introduce a lesson, we'll just kind of get them to join in and let them explore the materials a little bit. And then we'll start like, well, I thought maybe today we could pattern to, I have some bears here, and these bears are trying to cross the river, but they just don't know how. So look, I have these squares. Let's see, red, blue. And so then they'll tell you, oh, another red one, another blue one, another red one. And then so you release the materials and the children explore. And what the teacher does at this point, because we're working in small group, is that we stand up and we go around to each individual child and we scaffold the learning wherever they are at.
Let's have a final question. No pressure, but you're summing up the whole day.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. And my question is for Mr. Quesada. We've had 2 panels up here, and they've talked about parental engagement. And so can you please talk briefly about, how the school engages you, and then also what do you feel as a parent that schools need to do so we could engage you better? I'm Gregorio Velasquez, and I'm the principal at Tynan Early Childhood Education Center for SAISD.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, the parent engagement was really, really good. We received a folder every day. There was a take-home folder. We knew exactly what was going on. And like I mentioned earlier, when we walked in, it was like a mini conference. We could ask questions. We had 2 parent-teacher conferences, which gave us updates. In addition, the school provided some training for parents so they could, have a takeaway to go home and maybe perhaps emphasize more what goes, how to interact with their students, with the children, how they, what they're learning, so there could be a better communication. And any time that we had a question, we could, call the teacher, if to set up a conference. I believe we did that one time, and, it was very, very easy to do. So the interaction there at PreK for SA is excellent.
Rebecca, I'm slightly exempting you from this, but Jesse, Ileana, I know it's not easy to come in front of a room of strangers and talk about yourself, but you guys have really helped us with a terrific perspective, and your perspective was very, very helpful as well. So join me in thanking this terrific panel.